This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Miami Heat reports as Stanley has them blocked off with the high alert, but now he's got the billboard
It's
up.
better that way. It's better that way.
We are Liquor Split, baby. So tap that app, download the app, Liquor Split. And while you're watching the NBA playoffs, man, you can order your favorite drinks right there to your home. $2.99 flat fee, no hidden fees, and $1 goes to solving homelessness in Miami. So you're also doing a good thing while you're taking care of yourself too in the process. So while you order that Grey Goose, you're also doing a good thing. All right. So how you feeling, man? You feeling good?
Doing well. I'm ready for Sunday.
I know.
I can't wait for it to get here already. So it's been a long wait already. It's a couple more days still.
Well, we had the Hawks defeat the Hornets now. So now we've got the Hawks and the Cavs for the rights to get their asses kicked by the Miami Heat. So that'll be fun. You know, I'm watching that game last night, and I'm just wondering, does Michael Jordan ever sit back and say, God damn, I suck as an executive? I mean, seriously. I mean, it's just as good as he was as a player, and he could talk trash, and he was the greatest, and he's the GOAT, and he's, I think he's the best of all time. But man, as an executive, Anthony, holy crap, I'm watching that team, and it's the 10th seed. And how long's he been the leading executive of that team? Over 10 years now, and the Hornets can't accomplish jack crap. It reminds me of John Elway can't find a quarterback. It's just it's amazing how these great players they just don't have the eye to be a great, basketball operations man, in other words.
Yeah, I mean, the best they do is usually just clawing into the playoffs and an early first-round exit, and they've gotten some things right. I mean, LaMelo Ball looks pretty good. Miles Bridges is pretty good, but they need some defense. They need some defense on that team.
Yeah, but it's like 15 years. You finally have a couple of decent picks. That's pathetic, actually.
It has not been good. The track record has not been good. I mean, it's a small market. They don't draw a lot of free agents. That doesn't help him. You would think Michael Jordan would just him alone would be a draw, but it hasn't worked out that way. So yeah, I mean, you can't. Charlotte has not been an NBA power or Eastern Conference power. It's like a 7 seed. Usually is a good season for them. And again, losing in the first round is pretty much the expectation with them at this point.
That's crazy, man. I just you watch that and it's like, man, I just don't get that.
Yeah.
And at one point or another, I get your ego, hell, he still talks like he can play, So, man, are you man enough to at least look in the mirror and say, I need to step the hell away from this thing and just hire a basketball person. I need to be like a regular owner. Just step back completely and stay away from the whole thing. How much influence does he still have in the basketball operations? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm not around that team day to day, but I would think Michael Jordan, like if he owns a team, he's gonna want to be involved in the basketball side. I mean, it's like you can't tell Michael Jordan, no, just stay out of basketball, we'll handle it. So that's the issue. Like when Michael Jordan is your owner, he's gonna be very involved in the basketball side of things. So, as long as he's there, I don't see that changing, no matter what the results are.
All right. So if you're a Heat fan, do we look at something for more entertainment, or do you look at it like who's the easier out or something? I mean, I look at those. I mean, I'm watching the Hawks win, and Trae Young, dude, shot 8 of 24 and 1 of 7 from 3-point range. That, my friend, is not what we call efficiency. And so it was very Allen Iverson-ish. You know what I mean? It's kind of what it reminded me of. I know I'm dating myself a little bit, and you're a little younger for that, but it just kind of
watched AI. Yeah, I watched AI.
You were able to catch at the back end of AI.
Back end,
yeah, the back end. So he was one of those guys that he was a hell of a talent, but it wasn't efficient. And when I'm watching that last night, I'm not watching a threat. So if you're a Heat fan, how do we look at Cavs and Hawks?
I don't know if there's one is that much different than the other. Obviously the matchups are different, but I don't think one team is a lot better than the other. I think the spread tomorrow is like 1.5 or 2 points or something like that. And that sounds about right. I think Atlanta's favored. They're pretty close. So if I'm a Heat fan, I don't know if I have a preference. I mean, maybe the more entertaining series is Atlanta because it's Trae Young. You remember this, the New York Trae Young storyline last season in the playoffs where he was kind of fun to like
Well, we
root
can
against
using Caleb Martin. We might as well unleash him for that at least.
yeah.
That's a reason to use Caleb Martin now.
Right.
Let's play
I
the
think
Hawks.
that's probably the more entertaining series just because of Trae Young. But honestly, I don't know if it makes much of a difference. I'm expecting that series will be over pretty quick either way, whether it's
Do they
Cleveland
get
or
Collins
Atlanta.
back for that series?
I'm not sure. I mean, obviously he didn't play last night. I
Right.
haven't heard that he's close to a return. I don't know if it's been ruled out.
Okay.
But yeah, that makes a big difference. If Collins can't play, that's huge for them because he was such a big part of their run last season.
Right.
I mean, you could say that Atlanta is probably. I mean, I would think Atlanta's probably the better team of the two because they made a run last year to the East Conference Finals and experience, and they have the best player among the two teams. I think Trae Young is still the best player. When you look at those two teams, but I still think the Heat are on a different level in both those teams. It's pretty obvious.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. It looks like Spo said that expect Tucker to play, which I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
but I was thinking about this. What are we just talking about? There's no rush.
there isn't. Yeah.
So if Tucker is borderline ready, then no, dude, there's no crossing the borderline. You stay. You keep getting treatment, PJ. We don't need you in this series, dude. That's the other thing. We're talking about this. This isn't a matchup. This isn't a matchup whether Tucker plays or not. So that's the other thing. We're such in a rush and talking about Tucker. I don't believe there should be any rush to get Tucker back into this first round at all.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think obviously Spo said that yesterday, and PJ, that's not a surprise. I mean, he didn't want to rest on the stretch of the regular season because he just likes to play.
But you have to protect them from themselves, dude.
But you have to protect them from themselves. And it's like you said, I totally agree. I would not be surprised if he plays, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play game one because, like you said, what's the rush? What's the
whole series, dude? Let him rest because you can smoke these fools without him, and then push them out early, and maybe you're still waiting a couple of extra days for your next round, and you can sit back and buy more time for PJ. It's not like PJ needs to play. He's such a pro. He'll be ready the next time he takes the court. So I'm not that concerned.
Yeah, you have to with this team and their goals. You have to look at the big picture. Yeah. And the fact that PJ wasn't a full participant in practice, he just shot on the side yesterday. I mean, he's obviously not healthy enough to practice right now. So is he healthy enough to play in a playoff game in 3 days? Or is it worth the risk of him playing a playoff game in 3 days? I mean, that's a question you have to ask. And is it, again, if you needed him, it'd be a different story. For this matchup, you probably don't need him. And you have Caleb Martin, who could do a lot of things he does and is very good. So,
and let's also look at it this way. This is a guy you need him for the back end, not the front end of all of this. So it's really, you have to, like you just said, you have to think big picture. It has to be macro, not micro here. Playing him now, I'll give you more proof why maybe he doesn't even play in this series or he barely plays at all. What's the Heat's MO lately? They don't rush players back at all anymore. I don't even know if I remember the days when they used to rush players back. Might have been back years ago. But nowadays, their MO lately has been patience in everybody that has some kind of a setback. Anthony, you cover it every day. They don't rush anybody back anymore.
They don't. I mean, obviously the playoffs is different than the regular season, but it's like we said, this first round, I'm not trying to overlook it. Anything could happen, but you would think if you don't, PJ Tucker is not the difference in this first round, right? So again, if he's not 100%, I don't know. I mean, maybe they do play him. Maybe PJ insists on playing. The one thing I do know is the calf strain. Calf strains could take months to heal. His was the most minimal kind of calf strain. So that's good news. He was shooting yesterday, making threes. He wasn't obviously going hard in practice. He wasn't doing 5-on-5 work, but he was shooting on the court. So maybe the injury is just not as bad as it seems, and he can play. But if there's any doubt, I'm with you. I wouldn't play him for the first game, or maybe not even the whole series, because you need him guarding Giannis. You need him guarding Kevin Durant. You need him guarding all those players in the back end, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. And you want him against Milwaukee
Yeah,
because he's going to know that team better than anybody else. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? And so it's just one of those things. Remember, you can download the Liquor Split app, iOS or Android. You can order your favorite drinks and snacks, all kinds of different things. So you can get ready for any of the games, or maybe you have a business meeting. You forgot to order that scotch, that whiskey, that wine, that vodka. You can order at Liquor Split. All kinds of elixirs like Edge Energy Drink, which you can mix it with your Tito's, with your Grey Goose, with your rum, all kinds of stuff at Liquor Split. All right, Anthony, what are there any other injury concerns at all that we should be worried about right now?
Not really. I mean, obviously, Bam on a bio and protocols.
Right, yeah, but that's not
The
a big.
expectation is he's going to be back. Probably for Saturday's practice, which that's the big practice, right? Because that's the day they're going to know their opponent, and that's where they're going to install a lot of what they're going to do to start the series. So I'd be surprised if Bam isn't ready for game one. So really, PJ Tucker is really the only one that I guess is kind of up in the air at this point, even though he says he's going to play.
How deep do you think he goes? Because that's the one thing that how it is with the rotations in the playoffs. It gets tightened up. How far down does he go into the rotation? And Oladipo, what kind of is he a situational player or is he a rotational player?
I think he sticks with a 9-man rotation. I mean, that's what they've used now for most of the season. I think they'll stick with it. I think Victor is going to be a situational player. It's what we've talked about for the past few weeks, Big O, where they're trying to complement Bam and Jimmy. And I'm not sure Victor does that better than Duncan, better than Gabe Vincent at this point. But I do think there will be moments they'll need Victor. There'll be moments they need Markieff. Maybe if they play a smaller team like Brooklyn, doesn't play, their backup five isn't a true five. Instead of Dedmon, Markieff is playing at center. So I think there'll be matchups. Those guys will be needed. But I do not believe there'll be consistent rotation players, to start the playoffs.
Let me ask you a question because I was going to bring this up. And I don't want it to sound derogatory, but it will sound a little bit derogatory towards this person. But I don't mean it to be. But I do have to say, does it, I don't know, take a little bit of the shine? Let's just say just a tiny bit of shine off. So Greg Popovich yesterday lost.
Right.
And got eliminated from the playoffs. So Greg Popovich obviously is one of the great coaches of all time, had one of the great runs of all time. But he had that run with a specific group of players. So when you start talking and comparing Greg Popovich to other great coaches in the history of the game, let me just go locally right here in our backyard. And let's just go to Pat Riley. So Pat Riley won with the Lakers. Yeah, with that group of players.
Mm-hmm.
But then he went to New York and built another franchise that got to the finals, then came to Miami and has built several teams and took one and won in the finals in 06. So he's won titles with multiple teams. So yesterday they approached Pops about the question about retirement, and he called it an inappropriate question at that moment. And I understand his point of view.
Sure.
But it looks like he might be close to it. If Pops does not achieve greatness with a different team, does that take a little shine off of him when we start comparing him to other coaches, which, by the way, I'll start to add, i.e., their Mr. Eric Spoelstra,
right?
Who now, won with the big three, got to the bubble with the youngins, is now with another team that if he gets to the finals and if he actually wins it, I'm just telling you, I am going to be slightly more impressed with someone that has done it with a different version and a different team. Again, I don't want to take anything away from Pops and his accomplishment. But if I'm going to compare him to other coaches, one of the things I always say in football, everybody, and I know it's blasphemous in this city to say this, but everybody says that Don Shula, the greatest accomplishment is 17-0, right?
Mm-hmm.
I disagree. Joe Gibbs won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Okay? That's
That's
the
hard to
greatest
do. Yeah.
accomplishment by any head coach in the history of the NFL is Joe Gibbs. 3 Super Bowls, 3 titles, 3 different quarterbacks, proving that his system, his players made the quarterback or helped the quarterback win the Super Bowl. So for me, that's the greatest accomplishment. So if I'm going to say that, I'm going to stay consistent with this, right? So I'm
Yeah.
thinking about this last night and I'm going, well, dude, am I out of place here thinking Riley and Spo a little better than Pops? So talk to me now on this
I
long
mean,
drawn out question.
you're it's fair. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think Popovich's situation is so unique because how long were they on top for? Like all those guys spent their entire careers with the Spurs.
Right.
With Spo and Riley, we're talking about
No, Riley did it with the Magic. I mean, with the Lakers for 10 years. Easy.
yeah.
10
Yeah.
plus years. They won what? 5 or 4 titles?
I'm just saying the
No,
eras
no,
were
four. One was West Paul. The first one was West Paul. He won the following 4 after that.
The era, like for Spo, the big 3 was 4 years, right? I mean, the eras are so quick. With Pop, he really hasn't had much of a chance. I mean, he had David Robinson, then Tim Duncan came, and then Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. Like it was just continuous. Where I mean, it had a run of 20 years where they were ahead with one group. So he didn't really have a chance to do it with another group. Now he does. Again, a big difference is the market, right? The market is different. It's easier to draw guys to Miami, New York, and LA.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, in other words, you haven't sucked, so you can end up with the number 1 pick twice.
Right. Yes, that's fair. But
you end up with David Robinson. He gets injured, so you end up with Tim Duncan. I mean, it's reventa, as we say in Spanish.
Yeah. It's a different way of building a team there. I mean, that's the thing with the NBA. Like every team has to build their roster differently based on your market, based on if you can get free agents, and it's just the truth of the matter.
When it comes to being an architect, Pops, Riley, that's not even a conversation. That's not even a discussion. Riley kicks his ass 800 times over because he did it in New York and Miami.
Yeah, sure.
And Pops only did it one time. I mean, he did it one great time with that one group, but he's never done it with any different groups. Yeah. Whereas, we've watched it with Riley. Oh crap. Zoe goes down with a kidney ailment. Oh, I'll trade for Mason and win 50 games still. Yeah. That shit like that's impressive.
Pat has been incredible, just reinventing the Heat from era to era. I mean, just even this last 4 or 5 years. I mean, you look 5 years ago when Dwayne Wade left to now, to what this team is now, the way they hit on first-round picks, the way they signed these, undrafted players or guys out of the G League and made them into quality rotation guys, and got Jimmy Butler without cap space, and got Kyle Lowry in a sign-in. It's incredible. And that's Pat Riley, that's Andy Ellisberg, that's Adam Simon, that's Eric Spoelstra. I mean, it's just those guys have been there for so long for a reason, because they know what they're doing. It's amazing that the Heat has been able to keep them for so long. But a good thing for the Heat.
Yeah. Andy Rivas says, crazy that Big O has the audacity to say Spoelstra is better than Pop. Duncan and Robinson is a totally different team than Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili. Sir, they never won anything with Duncan and Robinson, Andy Rivas. I should block you just for being stupid. They didn't win anything until Parker and these guys got there, okay?
You should have known what you were getting into, Big O, when you started
come on,
blasphemy against Greg Popovich.
I mean, they did win with the little guard. What's his name? That he was the coach.
Avery Johnson?
Yeah, and then and Ginobili was young and Parker then joined and all that, but that's when they took off with those guys.
Right.
I mean, they won with Duncan and Robinson, and then Robinson left, and Duncan carried it all the way. He won with one team. One team.
And those guys stayed together.
Never. I know they changed, which is that's what Riley had in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You kept Magic, you kept Worthy, you kept Kareem, you kept Byron. Is it Byron? Scott.
Byron Scott.
You kept certain guys around for a long time. But
Right.
then you never were. You didn't get to reinvent yourself there because you ended up obviously leaving. But then you reinvent yourself in New York. That's my point, which Rivas doesn't get. Pops has never reinvented himself with another championship team.
Yeah.
Duncan was the guy, the centerpiece for all his championships. So he never went with anybody else. Whereas Riley won it with Magic, then went to the finals with a team that really kind of questionable. With that kind of offense, that shooting, to get to the finals is amazing. And then you get to the finals with Miami. And that's 3 different versions of teams. Plus, the teams that didn't get to the finals with Zoe and Timmy, who were really, really put it this way, Pops hasn't had success outside of the Duncan teams, at least like Timmy and Zoe did.
Yeah. I just think I think it's fair. Yeah, I think it's fair what you're saying. He hasn't had the opportunity. I mean, it's like he hasn't been to another team. He hasn't coached another team. He hasn't moved around.
It now. He's doing it now for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
He's had since how long has he been coaching now post Duncan now? What is this, like 6 years now?
Probably like 6-7 years, I would say. Yeah.
Dude, Riley turns over teams in 6 years.
Yeah.
In 6 years, he got rid of the bums of Whiteside and all that and was able to turn over a team. Yeah. That's what Andy Rivas doesn't understand, of course, because he's blinded by the oh my God, it's Pops. You shouldn't say anything. Oh, it's blasphemous to say that. No, it's not, dude. I'm being fair here.
You want a gold medal with Team USA?
You think Spo's not going to win a gold medal too?
I'm kidding. All
right, what are you working on the Herald so folks can check you out, man?
Practice over the next few days. We're leading up to game 1. Once we know the team, we will have full preview, matchups, who they're playing against, what the series is going to look like. So I'm awaiting kind of Friday night to kind of get to work with all these like the preview stuff, because we don't know who they're going to play. So that's something to look out for. And just obviously the PJ Tucker updates, Bam Adebayo, we're still waiting, for him to clear. So just a lot of kind of things to tie up before the start of the playoffs.
Well, we look forward to you talking to Spo and ask him, hey, how impressive is it that you've been able to display winning with different teams, unlike Popovich, who's only done it with one team? Just, we look forward to that question and answer.
I'll do that today. Okay. I'll say the question was submitted by Orlando Alzugaray.
That part he'll believe, by the way. That part he'll believe. All right, follow him on Twitter at Anthony_Chiang. And, of course, catch his exceptional work there at the Miami Herald every single day. And subscribe like I do. Support our local journalists, please. Anthony, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you.
As always, see you soon. All right.
Got it. There you go. The great Anthony Chiang. And don't forget, download the Liquor Split app, iOS or Android, Liquor Split, and have your favorite liquor, drinks, chips, snacks delivered to you. Flat fee of $2.99. Liquor Split.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.